Hey, this is Dan Lehman from automationhelpers.com, and today we're going to talk about Rocketlane, which is one of my favorite platforms for project management and customer success. Now, what I think is so interesting about this space is that oftentimes implementation is almost an afterthought when it comes to SaaS companies. There's so much focus on the licenses and selling it that eventually, when it comes to onboarding, it's just kind of like, hey, we hope it happens at some point. And one of the things, as I've worked in professional services and implementing for a lot of companies, is that oftentimes the tool set is much more geared towards being an internal tool for implementing a project rather than creating an amazing experience for our customers. So I'm going to show you Rocketlane, why I love it, and why I think it's so instrumental for the experience for your customers. I'm coming at this from the client's perspective. So we are in a portal that the clients get to interact with. Now, a lot of SaaS companies have a portal, but usually it's some kind of add on or it's an afterthought. It's kind of a secondary experience compared to the main application itself. But in the case of Rocketlane, this is really central and fundamental to the application is the experience that your clients get to go on in this journey with you. So it's not simply your company doing a project, executing, and then passing it off to the client. Instead, it's like you're all part of the same team. So I'm the client and I get to see this dashboard or this overview. I see my entire team. I can see where we are in terms of deliverables, project dates, where we are for completion. I can see any tasks that are outstanding or phases. But it's so much deeper than just the task management side. What are our business goals that we have in order for this to be able to be successful? What are the status updates that I can communicate to my executives who are interested in the project as well? So, as we take a look at this, we can see how the client becomes actually embedded in this part of the process. And we'll show you how we do that with documents and with chat as well, that it's this constant back and forth interaction with the client. Now, from here on the client side, I can see the project plan. I can see more of a Kanban view if I want to be able to see what tasks are outstanding. And one of the things that we can do is we can actually make tasks assignable to the client. It's not just assigned to internal resources. We can also hide tasks. Sometimes when I'm running a project, I say, here's some tasks that my team needs to do, but I don't want to expose it out to the client. And we can make sure that it's the right blend for what we're presenting externally in the organization. Now, as someone who manages a portfolio of projects and a team of people, I tend to look at the Gantt chart and be able to see where we're at with things because I'm looking at all the dependencies. But oftentimes, if you're actually executing on the tasks, you might want to have a view that's more like this. We'll talk a little bit more about chat in a little bit, but we have an overall chat. We can also interact with all of the different tasks and deliverables that we have in the system throughout chat. We also have status updates. This provides a way that we can have a meeting with the client. We can put in all the information about what we've done, and we can actually reference the tasks rather than sending just an email that lives outside of the system. Now, to actually be able to have it as one unified platform for communication, we're able to have it so that clients can see what's actually going on. We have the ability to collect form responses as well, which is kind of interesting. If we go back to that project plan, oftentimes we're trying to get feedback from our clients and they're busy. It's hard to get that feedback. So we can create forms directly within the tasks, assign it to them, and they can fill out information that will be structured data that we can use later on to be able to interact with our customers, to be able to see trends amongst a greater portfolio of customers as well. Let's go ahead and hop into the internal platform side. And you'll notice that the experience is very similar to when we were in the portal. Of course, we can utilize our own branding. So we've got a logo plus our client's logo. Another thing that we can do is we can have custom subdomains for branding. In this case, we're just using the out-of-the-box subdomain that we're given, our brand.rocketlane.com. But we'd also be able to do, when I worked at Solvy, we had success.solvy.com, which was our subdomain, so that we could really brand that experience for our clients. Let me show you a little bit more about the chat and what we can do here. When I am chatting with someone, I have the ability to tag individual users, which is something very common that you would see in other software packages. We can do that with the @ symbol. We can also reference tasks that we're working on. And so we can do a double @ symbol to say, hey, I've got this question about this particular task, and this will tag it for that task. And we can also reference individual documents. And so I love being able to have this one unified place. We also have integrations to Slack, you can be able to interact in other platforms of your choice. But to be able to have this unified place to be able to discuss everything from tasks to deliverables and the people on the project, I find really helpful. That also ties into spaces, and spaces you can think of as kind of a folder structure that allows us to be able to have different documents that we share with our clients. So you'll notice that we have both private spaces and shared spaces. A shared space will be one that we can actually share with the client. They can see documents that are in there. We can see documents that are in there. We can collaborate on the documents together. But we might also want private spaces where the client can't see the documents that we're working on, but we can be working on them. So maybe we have an intake form and we don't need the client to see all the details of it, just keep it behind the scenes. So we can create documents here. Now, you'll notice that we've got a few different ways to be able to handle documents. In this case, we've embedded a Google document, so you can utilize external documents. We have an embedded document here as well. But Rocketlane also has its own native documents. And I find this really helpful because I can template out documents. And then when we create a new project, it automatically creates all the documents that I need for that project. So you'll see that some of these spaces are for implementation or training guides. These spaces are tied to the actual phases of the project. So I could have a space to say, hey, now we're in discovery. Here's all our discovery documents. I could have another space for when we're in the actual implementation or the design phase of it. Being able to have these documents and then actually have conversations right over on the side and not have to worry about going into Google Docs, having a separate set of permissions to be able to do that. I love Google Docs just as much as the next person, and we utilize Google Docs all the time, but I really appreciate being able to have all of this templating capability directly within the platform, and I don't have to create copies each time that I want to be able to create a new document. Let's hop on over to our templates, and from here, I can see that we've got a number of different templates created. I've got one for enterprise onboarding. So your company probably has a variety of different projects that you want to do. And depending on some kind of criteria, you have a different project plan. And as we go into the project plan, we can account for who things will be assigned to. We can have tasks that are populated. We can have durations assigned to them, task dependencies, everything that you'd expect in a typical project management tool. We're able to see this as the more traditional Gantt chart, so we can see all of the dependencies and where everything is. Everything is click, drag, and droppable. It can shift other tasks out as there are dependencies on it, if there are hard dependencies. And one other thing I really like is we have the ability to have dynamic logic to this so that we could say, you know what, I only want to create a particular task if there's a certain condition. So I can say, if the ARR matches this certain dollar value, we consider this to be an enterprise account. And so we want to add on some additional tasks here. And this can be things that we, create on the project side within Rocketlane, but it's also things that we can pull over as field values from Salesforce. So it doesn't have to be just things that exist within Rocketlane. We can also pull it from additional systems to be able to have that conditional logic to set these dynamic tasks on the project itself. Now, if you're a manager, you'll find it very helpful to have dashboards of everything that's going on across your portfolio of projects. So we've got some out-of-the-box dashboards that are here. You can also create your own custom dashboards and charts. Honestly, what I find myself using more of the time is their out-of-the-box reports that they have. Let me open up the CSAT report. Many organizations I've worked at, we have to integrate with a different forms provider to capture our survey information from clients. But with Rocketlane, you can actually automatically trigger this and send the surveys from Rocketlane itself. So we can send out a CSAT survey immediately at the end of a project. We could do it at the end of a phase. Sometimes we like getting client feedback multiple times throughout the project, and so we time it when the phase or the milestone is closed. That makes it really easy so that you don't have to rely on multiple tools to handle that experience. I also find myself using our time tracking report. So within tasks, you've got the ability to have your team track time on the individual tasks. There's also a grid that they can use to interact with the timesheets. And so this is one thing that we do to help us with capacity planning and utilization. We can see what time has been logged against. And again, I'm coming at this from a manager's perspective. From the high level here, both at the project view, we can see for people, what have they actually been working on in terms of what they've been tracked and what hours have been allocated to them. We could also do it by category. So if we're spending a certain amount of time in design or documentation, we could see where that is all rolling up against. In fact, if I want to hop into the timesheets, I can see for my team when they have sent their timesheets in. We can send reminders. We could say at the end of the week, all of our timesheets are due. I can drill into an individual user's timesheet, and they've got the ability to both enter the time at a task level view, or they can add in their tasks that they're currently working on, and they can treat it more like a spreadsheet where they're able to click in and drill across, more like a spreadsheet that they're operating out of. And I find that this makes my team so much happier than some of the older fashioned ways of doing time entry. Not that any of us love time entry at any point, but especially when it comes to managing a large team and making sure that we can take on all of our projects, this is about the easiest as it gets to be able to manage those approvals. Here I've got a view of all of my projects so we can see across the entire portfolio what's going on. We can see our status updates, the current phases we're in, which are automatically updated, the progress that we're making, our phases, and you can add any kinds of custom fields you want as well. So there's a lot that happens just automatically out of the box, but I found myself adding a few fields just to make it easier as we do status updates and check-ins and things of that nature. You can filter this any way that you want. So you can create a number of different views. So we could say, let's just see my enterprise customers or just see my small and mid-sized business customers. But you can add multiple filters to make that easy to see. And in addition to filtering projects, we can also get really granular at the task level. So I could see all of the tasks that I have in the system. That's usually not very helpful. But we could instead look at just the overdue tasks, or we could see just the unassigned tasks. And this makes it really easy if you're a resource manager to be able to see what exactly is happening, what has to be shifted out, where are we seeing issues that come across. And this gives us that ability to look at both the projects and the task views as we're trying to sort out managing the projects throughout their life cycle. I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about how awesome Rocketlane own customer success team is. It would be kind of sad to say if they had a terrible customer success team, considering how awesome their customer success product is. But really, they're some of the best people that I've ever met. We were an early adopter of Rocketlane, and there were some of the features as they were coming out. They started with this core customer success platform, and they were building on top some of the project management features. And one of the features I really wanted was resource management, capacity tracking, because we wanted to plan for our team. If we're looking out a few weeks or even a quarter, what do we have the ability to be able to take on? And so I love being able to work with their customer success team and their product managers to talk about what was really important to us so that then they were able to very quickly turn around and release this feature to be able to handle capacity planning and be able to better allocate for our team. So huge shout out to the team over at Rocketlane. If you're interested in taking Rocketlane for a spin, you can go to their website, rocketlane.com, and they have options both to book a demo as well as to just try it for free and hop in and check out some of the things that I've just been talking about. I hope you get the opportunity to try out and love Rocketlane as much as I do. Let me know if you have any questions in the comments below.